Brooke Fremouw here, certified trauma support specialist. I specialize working with adoptive families, and I am also an adoptive mom to 11 incredible children. Today, we're going to answer the question, should you allow your adopted child to resume contact with biological family? No matter what's brought you to this question, whether it's your child desiring connection, whether it's biological family reaching out and saying, hey, listen, I'm desiring to reconnect and communicate, or whether there's some impeding factor with siblings, biological siblings, no matter what it is that has brought you to this, there are three things that I really think we need to ask ourselves before answering this question. I am the founder and the trainer with Journey University for Adoptive Families. And so please check out my Facebook page for daily posts and information. You can find me at Brooke Fremouw, Fremouw, or look in the comments and description section for links to the other resources I have for you as an adoptive family. But without further ado, let's take a look at the three things you should be asking yourself to answer the question, should you allow or re-engage contact with biological family for your adopted children? Okay, first thing you need to ask yourself, is your child stable? This is the first question, and based on the answer to this, you would then go to question number 2. What is stable, right? Your child, are they right now making healthy and helpful choices in their world? Now, I get it. What child do you know that's in their teens that isn't struggling with some level of stability, right? We've got complex cognitive reasoning. We've got hormones on board. We have the pulling away from family. So if you've got a teenager and this is the question that you're asking, you're like, Brooke, what does that mean? Stable? Like, who's really stable in this world? Are they making healthy choices? Are they participating in dishonest engagement with peers, right? Do we have a kid that's looking at using substances as coping? That's not healthy. That's not okay. We don't want to overly complicate what's already complicated, right? Is this child struggling with aggression, verbal or physical aggression? Is this child sneaking out, participating in things that you're like, oh my word, not safe, not okay? Is this child overall respecting your authority in the home, or are they constantly fighting for their own autonomy and control? Now, if you've got a younger child, the question is the same, but it looks a little different, right? Do you have a child that is overall compliant? That if painted with a broad brush, you'd say, yeah, this kid is doing okay. Like they're figuring out navigating with peers, they're participating in school appropriately. And so if the answer to question number 1 is yes, my child overall is making healthy choices and is stable within our family environment, they accept me as their mother, they accept dad as their father, they accept the siblings as siblings. There isn't a lot of confusion around that. They recognize that they can have 2 families, that they may not be seeing this family, but that's a part of who they are, but this is also a part of who they are. Then I would say, okay, let's look at question number 2. Okay, let's look at question number 2. Question number 2 is, are the family members that you're looking at bringing into your child's life, into your life, into your family unit, creating an exposure for everybody involved, are they healthy and helpful? Is the biological family member that you're introducing them to using drugs, mentally stable, able to hold down a job, pay their bills, right? To the best of their ability, are they showing up functional in their own world? This is really, really important. I had a family reach out to me the other day. We were having these conversations. Guys, I have an open adoption with one of my kids. I have absolutely no way on the face of this planet will you ever see your children again. And I have kids in between. I also have kids who've lost their family to death, right? That are true orphans, double orphans that don't have an option of reaching out to biological family. So I get that it's complicated. But in talking with this other family, they're like, yes, our family's stable. I feel like my child's matured. I feel like we're solid, but there's this sibling, and the sibling is having contact, and the parent's incarcerated. So, I mean, it can't be that dangerous in the sense that they can't communicate beyond a certain level. And so, is it okay? What are you thinking? Are you thinking yes? I mean, after all, they're not going to show up at your doorstep, right? After all, they can't be that like strung up if they're in jail. So here's the question. Are they healthy? And are they going to be helpful to your family unit and supportive of what you're doing? An incarcerated individual could be an unincarcerated individual with appeals or with a parole or with early release for good behavior, right? And so I need you to consider this on a broad basis, not just for today, but for what tomorrow might look like. I am all for healthy connections with biological family. There is no such thing as too much love, and giving answers to biology and relationship to our children is a gift. It is an absolute gift. And yet it can be a very dangerous weapon at the same time. So when we look at this relative, are they sober? Are they sober? If they are not sober, then they are not predictable, and you are dealing with addiction as much as you are dealing with a person. And so as much as I desire for my children to have healthy connection and addiction do not go together. So if the person is struggling with addiction, they are likely not considered healthy and stable enough to introduce into a child's life. If they were a non-biological family member, would you just welcome them into your child's world? And I know that's not a fair question to ask because it's different, and the weight of the value of that relationship is more, but that also tells you how much we need to guard our children's hearts, right? We need to be able to make sure that when we are opening a door and an invitation into our world, that we're doing it in a way that protects everybody involved. If we're looking at, are they helpful? Are they going to speak life over your current relationship? Or are they going to say, it was so unfair, I loved you, the government took you from me, this wasn't my fault, and discount the levels of accountability and then make you out to be a kidnapper, right? The reality is that somebody needed to stand in the gap for your child, and you chose to be that person. And you've received tons of blessings in standing in that role. You likely feel like you're the one that's been blessed by the relationship. And yet at the same time, you don't want to be vilified for what it is that you have done. You don't want the government to be vilified and police officers to be vilified. We don't want biological family members to be vilified either, right? The reality is that we're accountable to what we are accountable to, and we expect others to be accountable for their portions as well. Can that person be accountable and support the fact that they are no longer in that parental role, that they don't get to decide for their child bedtimes, they don't get to decide freedoms, they don't get to decide privileges or services for your child? Can they be supportive of what you have in place? Okay, let's look at question number 3. Question number 3 is, how deep is your well? Now, I know there's going to be biological family members that are watching this video, and they're going to be like, I don't care how deep that person's well is. It's not about the adoptive parent. It's about me and my child. I hear you. I hear you. And the reality is that every day as an adoptive mom, I wake up and I put on my big girl pants and I go to battle with my children as a team captain for my children, advocating for them. And it takes a lot of resources to parent trauma-exposed children. It takes a lot of resources to have a child that's lacking trust for their adoptive family and get them to a space where they feel safe and healthy and attached and purposed for what God has for them in this family. And those resources deplete our well as adoptive parents, don't they? And so the reality is there's only so much to draw off of. And when we invite a complicated relationship into our home, it's going to tax resources. Your child, I am all for your child having a struggle with their feelings when they meet biological family. I am all for walking through that under the safety net of your home and with your support as a family member. But your children are going to have grief resurface. They are going to have behaviors resurface. They're going to have a whole lot of questions about why things are and why things are not. They're going to play with fantasy as they grieve, right? Part of that grief process is denial. And so the reality is that you're going to have a well to draw off of in order to be the support system that your children need you to be. Should you open up this door? Do you have it to give? Does your child's providers, do you have therapeutic service supports to be able to help navigate this with you and with your child? If your well is almost empty and you think that introducing this relationship back in is going to make more stability for your child, is going to answer those burning questions and give a peace to them that unifies your own adoptive home, that is not how this works. It's not how this works. You've got to be able to say that there is enough already in my well to do the hard work of this relationship and of this union in order for my child to find the peace that you desire for them and that they desire for themselves. So all of that being said, let's summarize. Should you re-engage biological family with your adopted child? Question number 1 was, is your child stable? Are they making healthy choices? Is your family unit connected? Number 2, is the adoptive family member healthy and helpful? Are they going to be supportive of what your child has going on in their world? And are they going to be able to remain accountable and consistent? Or do they have health issues and stability issues within their own home that are going to trickle on to this kid? And question number 3 is, how deep is your well? How much do you have to draw off of in order to pour in the time, energy, and resources needed to navigate this relationship? My hope is that the answer to those 3 things is yes, and that you can move forward, because it is a good thing to have a healthy biological family member engaged with your adopted kid. It's hard. It can be confusing, can be conflicting, and yet it is beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. On the contrary, can be very, very damaging. It can be very, very hard to navigate. There can be trust issues that you probably haven't even imagined, or that you've gone to the rabbit hole and terrify you. And so you've really got to take a strong look at these 3 questions and see where you shake out on them. And if they are not all 3 a yes, what can you do to make them a yes before you re-engage? My advice for the person that has the family member incarcerated is, can you do letters with that person first and gain a level of trust for their health and stability? After you've established a writing letters with a P.O. box, do not give out your address. After you've done that, can you then move to letters between the child and the parent and see if there's a stability in communication that can be connected over that? And if this person is long-term incarcerated, probably feel a little bit better about the fact that letters would be a safe approach. And then after you've had letter communication, maybe it's time to move to in-person communication. And that's the strategy that I would use regardless of the circumstances. If you have decided the answer to those 3 questions is yes, that's what I would do as you reintroduce and verify the stability and health of that relationship before you dump it into your home. I hope that you found this helpful. Please like this. Please send me a comment about what your biggest takeaway was, and shoot me a comment about what you'd like to have answered for you as an adoptive mom next. Thank you so much, guys, and God bless you. Bye-bye.